City, the guns have yet to fall silent. Echoing through the ruined Shejaiya neighborhood, violent clashes between Hamas and rival clans. And nearby, in Al-Ahli hospital, the sounds of new grief, so constant for 2 years, now piercing the ceasefire. It was never a peace plan, it's a trick, she says. A father and his young son killed by Israeli fire this morning. Relatives said they'd gone to check on their house. Israel says they approached military positions and were warned. 6 people killed in 3 such incidents today.
He hadn't settled yet, hadn't even set up his tent for his children. He couldn't. He didn't get to reach his home yet, didn't reach his doorstep. Where is the safe zone you speak of?
In Tel Aviv, more fractures in the ceasefire deal. Israeli hostage families demanding the bodies of their loved ones be brought home. So far, the remains of only 4 of the 28 dead hostages have been returned, with Hamas promising to hand over 4 more tonight. The International Committee of the Red Cross saying finding the bodies in Gaza's devastation could take much more time.
Right now, there's a violation of the agreement, and we demand of the Israeli government, and we demand of everybody involved, especially the US and the Arab countries that vouch this agreement, we demand them to take action.
Israel's action, announcing it would depart from the terms of the deal, keeping the Rafah crossing with Egypt closed tomorrow, halving the daily number of trucks into Gaza through the Israeli crossing from 600 to 300. That will, once again, punish Gaza's poorest. The markets have been restocked, prices have tumbled, but for many here, they remain unaffordable.
It's true the war has stopped, but we're still living in famine. We can't manage our lives, there's no work, no movement. All the houses are destroyed, the factories are gone. There isn't a single source we can depend on to survive.
In the House of Commons today, the Prime Minister called for all aid restrictions to be lifted and again offered UK support in rebuilding Gaza and disarming Hamas.
We stand ready to play a full role in the decommissioning of Hamas weapons and capability. Because, as this House knows, there can be no viable future for Gaza, no security for Israel, if Hamas can still threaten bloodshed and terror.
Yesterday, President Trump said Hamas had approval to impose internal security for a period of time. But already that has included street executions and gun battles with rival groups.
Since day one of the Israeli withdrawal, Hamas has started attacking families, some of whom have nothing to do with the Israeli collaboration whatsoever, some of whom actually have rejected clearly to work with the Israelis to the extent that Israel had bombed their leaders. And the reality is, the more Hamas creates facts on the ground, the harder it will be for phase 2 to force Hamas to do anything unless war is resumed.
Tonight, President Trump posted that the job was not yet done. Phase 2 begins now, he said. How, though, he expects his 20-point plan to be imposed on Gaza's fast-shifting reality yet to emerge.
Harry Fawcett reporting. Well, Ambassador Hossam Zaki is Assistant Secretary General of the Arab League and a long-standing Egyptian diplomat. He joins me now from Cairo. Ambassador, thanks for coming on the programme. When you look at the scenes in Gaza today, and there's been more fighting between Hamas and Palestinian gangs, and the IDF has killed 7 people with a drone strike, are you worried that this fragile ceasefire might collapse?
Well, frankly, yes, I am, of course. The scenes that we've been witnessing and statements coming out of both sides, I think, are not very conducive to the completion of phase 1 as everybody has envisaged them in the past few days. So it is worrying. I hope cooler heads prevail. I hope wisdom prevails on the part of the Palestinians, on the part of Hamas, and also on the part of Israel. Some of the things that are in phase 1 are very tricky, difficult to obtain immediately, such as the remains of bodies.
Sure.
But if there is a commitment and if there is action in good faith, I think we can get to the completion of phase 1 successfully, but it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of intervention from the part of the mediators.
As you would have heard, President Trump has sort of jumped the gun, so to speak, by saying that phase two starts now, as phase one is still very much in peril. Just on the phase one thing, I mean, Hamas has been very clear. They won't disarm. They've said, not just at the weekend, but again today. They've been fighting pitched battles with Palestinian gangs, many of which are armed by the Israelis. They have been executing so-called collaborators in the middle of the street in front of the cameras. I mean, none of this bodes very well, doesn't it?
True, but also we have to take everything into the proper context. The lawlessness, the state of lawlessness that exists in the Gaza Strip right now is unprecedented, and it has been created, might I add, on purpose by the Israeli authorities, by the Israeli army, because this is where it wants to put the population of Gaza in a complete lawlessness situation, and it is frankly something that no one can live through. People can live through famine, believe you me, but lawlessness is very difficult. So it's a very fragile phase. About the weapons of Hamas, that does not belong to phase one. I think there will be proper work done on this issue, albeit, yes, that Hamas leaders are giving harsh statements in this regard. But I think there is proper work to be done, and the mediators are working on that, or probably are going to be working very soon.
But if Hamas doesn't want to give up its weapons, and so far show no indication that it will, I mean, who would want to put their peacekeeping soldiers into the chaos and the confusion of Gaza? You know, would Egypt like to see its soldiers in there, or Turkey, or Qatar, or the Saudis? I mean, can you imagine that?
A great question. Of course, it's very difficult for any country to put its soldiers in a situation like that, definitely. And might I add, the Israeli army is still in Gaza Strip. It did not withdraw, and it is keeping its withdrawal plans very unknown, very secretive. Nobody really knows what to expect out of the Israeli side on the withdrawal point. So it is a very difficult situation. But those countries that may contribute to such a force have the political will to do so. We need to work out. They need to work out some of the points, but it is doable. It's not impossible.
Okay, Ambassador Hossam Zaki in Cairo. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
As we heard earlier, Keir Starmer spoke to the Commons today about the ceasefire in Gaza. Joining me now is Emily Thornberry, Labour MP and Chair of the Commons Foreign Affairs Committee. Emily Thornberry, it's good to have you on the programme. I don't know if you heard the Ambassador's interview just now, but he was quite sceptical that phase one was going to actually complete and be successful. I just wonder if you take a broader picture, as you can, from your purview, do you think that the real problem here is that we could return to October the 6th, 2023, you know, in the next couple of weeks or months?
I mean, I agree with the Ambassador that it's hard, but that it's doable, and we have to hope. We can't if we don't continue with this peace process, if we don't continue to change things, to make agreements, for the negotiators to continue to move forward, then yes, it will fall apart. At the moment, it's just a ceasefire. It's not a peace, and so the process has to continue, and there has to continue to be political agreement, and so the sides need to work together, and we need to be able to find where there is goodwill and work on that. It's very early days. The scenes are horrible, but at least, you know, the most of the killing at least has stopped. The hostages are free. You know, there are bodies, many bodies under the rubble, presumably Israeli bodies and many, many Gazans too. And that may well take a while to clear up. But in the meantime, we cannot allow there to be, aid being stopped once more. At the very least, the people of Gaza need food. And then there needs to be a process gone through to be able to find some security and then move from there.
But on that process, I mean, people have likened this to the Belfast moment of the Good Friday Agreement, or indeed the Oslo Accords in 1993. But in both those cases, the United States was an honest broker, and there were people to speak to. I mean, who does one speak to on the Palestinian side? Hamas is not allowed to be spoken to. Palestinian Authority has been disqualified. The one man who might have a dialogue is still in jail, and the Israelis won't release him. So it's missing quite a few components, this peace process, isn't it?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think also, the Qataris, the Turks, the Egyptians have connections within Hamas. It's, nobody says that they don't. And Hamas is a very broad organisation. Obviously,
so should they be involved in some kind of peace process?
No.
Hamas?
I mean, I don't think that they should directly be involved. But, as I was going on to say, the Hamas was running the Strip for a very long time. And I suppose, one definition of Hamas might be people who were running local authorities or, street cleaners or people in the hospitals. I mean, are they meant to be Hamas? I mean, they're employed by Hamas. They were part of the Hamas establishment. I mean, clearly that would be unfair to assess it in that way.
Go on. There's a bigger question, though, isn't there? Which is that our government has recognised a Palestinian state together with our European friends.
Yes.
There is a pathway to a Palestinian state in the Trump plan. Yes. And Prime Minister Netanyahu has ruled out a Palestinian state in Hebrew and in English repeatedly, while President Trump, when asked about this yesterday on Air Force One, shrugged his shoulders in typical Trump style. That's a problem, isn't it?
Nobody says that there aren't problems. I mean, there are many,
but how do you solve this problem? You've got to hold out some kind of horizon of dignity and self-determination to the Palestinians, don't you?
Yes.
How do we do that?
Yes, so there has to be a pathway towards peace. So the international community has been pretty clear about what it is that it wants, and it is working towards it. It is difficult. We need to continue to have the heft of the American president in order to make sure that these plans are put in place and are pushed forward. And there will be opposition to it, of course there will. And there needs to be more work done with the Palestinian Authority. It needs to be, it needs to be in a healthier state than it is at the moment in order to be able to play a proper role in the future of Palestine. I hear what you say about Barghouzi, and I agree with you. There may well be people who continue to be held in Israeli jails who may well be part of a future peace.
Just one final and very brief one, if I may. I mean, yesterday the whole world turned up and was kissing President Trump's ring, who admittedly had a big success. Was there a bit cringeful watching all these world leaders turning up and it's all about him?
You have to get past this. You have to say, we have to do anything and everything that we can in order to find a peace in Gaza, in order to find justice for Palestinians. And frankly, we do whatever we can in order to make sure and keep an eye all the time on the goal, which is at last there must be peace in the Middle East, and we must throw everything we can at it. We might fail, but you never know, we might succeed.
Sounds like you've got past it already. Emily Thornberry, thank you very much indeed. Now, the relief in Israel at the return of the living hostages is tempered not only by Hamas's failure to return the dead, but also anxiety about some of the people being let out of Israeli prisons under the terms of the ceasefire deal. More than 2,000 Palestinian detainees and prisoners have been released to the joy of their loved ones in the occupied Palestinian territories. Many of them have been held without charge for months, but some 250 prisoners are walking free after being convicted of offences, including murder and carrying out deadly attacks on Israel. Here's our Foreign Affairs correspondent, Porrick O'Brien.
Across the Palestinian refugee camp of Adeshe, Bethlehem, plaques memorialise prisoners. Freedom fighters for Palestinians, terrorists for Israelis. This is Mahmoud Sarahne, and this is his family.
Hands up if you've never actually seen or met Mahmoud.
That's because he spent 23 years in an Israeli prison, handed down multiple life sentences by an Israeli court. He was among the hundreds of Palestinian detainees released yesterday. 154 of them were deported to Egypt. This is them arriving in Cairo. Their offences deemed so serious by Israel, they had to be sent abroad as part of the deal. This family story, in other words, is a complicated one. 3 days ago, while we were interviewing Mohammed Sarachne, by chance his brother Mahmoud called from prison to tell the family that he would soon be released.
كنا مشتاقين إلك، إحنا اللي مشتاقين إلك.
Sarachne had also called his sister Sarah from prison. She rushed over from next door. In Israel, they won't be crying tears of joy at his release.
Earlier, 2 Israelis died after a Palestinian suicide bomber blew herself up.
In the early 2000s, Mahmoud Sarachne was convicted in an Israeli court for his role in organizing a series of suicide bombings during the Second Intifada. An explosion at the entrance of a supermarket in Jerusalem, for example. 2 people were killed. Hamas claimed responsibility. I asked Mahmoud Sarachne's family about this incident.
There will be families in Israel who hold him responsible for the deaths of their loved ones, and they will be crying for a different reason today. Do you understand that, or do you sympathize with them?
إحنا المظلومين في النهاية. إحنا اللي مظلومين. بس هذا هو الجواب مش أكثر. إحنا شعب مظلوم. والله شعب مظلوم. إحنا يعني على مستوى عائلتنا وبيتنا إحنا لا بنعرف ننام ولا نعرف نو يعني بتنام بيجي الجيش بيخلع الباب عليك.
One of the people who died at the supermarket bombing in 2002, security guard Haim Smader. He confronted the bomber and stopped her from entering. Nati Smader is Haim's son. I met him yesterday.
Mahmoud Sarachne and others involved in that plot will be released today. How are you feeling?
קשה מאוד, במיוחד שזה מחבל אחד מתוך 4, או אחד מתוך 4 שמשתחרר. הראשון כבר השתחרר בינואר, ובעקבות השחרור כל העצבים וכל הרגשות עלו לי למעלה. אני קרסתי, הייתי חודש שלם במיטה.
I asked whether it was possible that the decision to exchange hostages for detainees could be wrong for him, but right for everyone else.
But do you think it's the right decision for the world or not?
ממש לא, ממש לא.
For the 23 years that Mahmoud Sarachne has been in prison, the IDF has subjected his family to a rolling program of harassment. Both of Mohammed's sons have spent the last 2 years in Israeli detention without being charged, along with hundreds of others. The house turned upside down by soldiers when they were taken. Their sister, Sarah.
Sarah, how many people that you know are in administrative detention?
كل واحد في المخيم عنده أسير أو شهيد، ما في دار بتخلى من شهيد أو أسير أو حزن، المهم يكون في حزن في كل بيت فلسطيني.
It's almost humanly impossible to see a way through the kind of pain these people have experienced, let alone see a way through the conflict that caused it. Which is why it would take a unique kind of political leader to show the path rather than weaponize the pain.
Hitler, you probably didn't even hate the Jews. That was just meth making you crazy, dog.
Both of you, get back in the closet. You deserve a ass whooping. All of you, get back in the closet. Go yourself.
How much does it cost for fascism? How have to pay for a fascist country.
They're evil. They are actively doing evil. So treat them like the evil that they are.
The time to start is now, right? The time to plant a tree is 10 years ago, and the second best time is now. Strikes are the most effective way to stop profits, get demands, and force policy changes. If you can shut down profit, you can make any politician do anything.
It's time to stop pretending otherwise. It's time to be ruthless and time to afford them the same amount of grace that they give to their Palestinian victims, because they are only going to get more and more ruthless with their victims if you don't.
Mic check 1, 2. Alright, let's start with headlines and then go into more specific stories. It's the 14th.
To Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Humanitarian aid has begun to trickle into the Gaza Strip, where over 2 million people have faced widespread starvation and malnutrition following Israel's 2-year assault that the United Nations and human rights groups have condemned as a genocide. Earlier today, Israeli military forces in Gaza City killed at least 5 Palestinians, despite the ceasefire agreement that took effect last Friday. Separately, at least 3 children were injured Monday by what appeared to be
and there will be no consequences.
The unexploded Israeli ordnance dropped near Al-Shifa Hospital. The United Nations has warned it could take more than a decade to defuse and clean up unexploded bombs and other explosives left behind by Israeli forces. On Monday, thousands of Palestinians gathered in Khan Yunis and the West Bank to celebrate the return of nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners and captives freed as part of the ceasefire deal. Many of those released had been jailed by Israel without charge or trial. They showed signs of starvation, medical neglect, and torture. This is 48-year-old Palestinian Majid Abi, who was detained nearly 2 years ago.
The situation is extremely hard for young men. No food, no drink, no medical care. They face constant oppression, torment. I wish everyone would pay attention to their situation. May God protect everyone. Thank God. It's an indescribable feeling.
Another 154 Palestinian prisoners were deported by Israel to Egypt rather than returned to occupied Palestine. Meanwhile, Israeli authorities say they've identified the bodies of 4 hostages returned by Hamas as part of the ceasefire deal, while families express anger that the bodies of 24 other Israelis have not yet been returned. Human rights groups say Israel holds the bodies of over 700 Palestinians, including dozens of children, who Israel has used as bargaining chips in negotiations. On Monday, President Trump co-chaired a summit in Sharm el-Sheikh with Egypt.
That one soldier on the end doing the salute like this. Dude, you're goofy. Dude, look at her on the end. What the fuck kind of salute is that?
Of children who Israel has used as bargaining chips in negotiations. On Monday, President Trump co-chaired a summit in Sharm el-Sheikh with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. The leaders of over 24 countries were in attendance for the ceasefire signing ceremony. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did not attend. We'll have more on the Gaza ceasefire deal and the exchange of Israeli and Palestinian hostages after headlines. A journalist who was abducted by Israeli forces last week as she accompanied a Gaza-bound humanitarian.
Dude, the IOF does not care anymore at all. They'll let you even have a goofy salute. They're so desperate for people.
Humanitarian aid vessel says she was tortured in Israeli custody alongside activists seeking to break Israel's siege on Gaza. Noah Avishag Schnall described the abuse in a video statement to Drop Site News, with bruises from her ordeal clearly visible on her face.
Any flotilla member who upset the Israeli guards was subjected to twisted and tightened handcuffs, and some received beatings. I was hung from the metal shackles on my wrists and ankles and beaten in the stomach, back, face, ear, and skull by a group of men and women guards, one of whom sat on my neck and face, blocking my airways. Many comrades, understandably, do not want their identity made public when recounting this treatment. During the evening, the men were tormented by guards with attack dogs and guns. The women were threatened with pepper spray. Our cell was awoken with threats of rape.
In Afghanistan, the Taliban government says its forces killed dozens of Pakistani soldiers in border clashes over the weekend in retaliation for airstrikes in Kabul and the bombing of a market in eastern Afghanistan last Thursday. The fighting's halted all trade and transit between the two countries, stranding hundreds of Afghan refugees.
We are stranded here because of the war. People say there is fighting at the border. Children, women, and the elderly here with us are sick. There is no water or food. We don't have enough money to survive here for even a few days. They should resolve their issues through dialogue. In war, both countries lose. No one benefits.
Russian forces attacked Ukraine's second-largest city, Kharkiv, with guided bombs overnight Monday, plunging 30,000 Ukrainians into darkness after targeting power transmission lines. 4 people were injured when 3 of the bombs struck a hospital.
The first strike was somewhere farther away, and the second, it was very loud. The door flew out. My window burst open. I'm just lucky that I have a ward on the other side. I just sat down, very scared. My heart ached. Not all the wards were fully occupied, but there were people there who suffered from glass injuries because the windows blew out.
Hospital ward.
Russia's latest attack comes as the International Atomic Energy Agency is pressing Moscow and Kyiv to agree to local ceasefires in order to restore electricity to the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia power plant, Europe's largest nuclear facility. The plant's been operating on backup diesel generators since September 23rd after fighting severed power lines, leaving it vulnerable to a nuclear disaster. It's the 10th time, and by far the longest, the plant has lost outside power. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's announced plans to meet President Trump at the White House Friday as he seeks additional weapons, including long-range Tomahawk missiles.
Oh, my God.
In Washington, the federal government shutdown has entered its 14th day. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson's warning this could be the longest shutdown in U.S. history. The Senate's expected to vote today for the 8th time to fully fund the federal government. Senate Democrats say they won't approve new spending until Republicans agree to extend expiring health care subsidies under the Affordable Care Act. These shutdowns caused flight delays, shut off access to national parks, closed taxpayers' helplines at the IRS, impacted the permitting process at the Environmental Protection Agency and the Transportation Department. Military personnel and their families have increasingly turned to food pantries to make ends meet. Meanwhile, several airports across the country are refusing to air a video PSA of Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem blaming Democrats for the shutdown and resulting flight delays. A spokesperson for Portland International Airport told the Washington Post, quote, "We believe the Hatch Act clearly prohibits use of public assets for political purposes and messaging," unquote. The Washington Post, the New York Times, the Associated Press, and CNN, as well as conservative outlets Newsmax and Washington Times, all announced they will not sign the Pentagon's new press policy by today's deadline. The policy states media outlets and reporters cannot obtain any information that the Pentagon does not explicitly authorize. Matt Murray, the Washington Post executive editor, said, quote, "The proposed restrictions undercut First Amendment protections by placing..."
I'm glad we got the Pentagon, who can't, can't keep up with like 60 to 80% of their fucking budget, is now going to be approving financial requests? It has to go
necessary constraints on.
What do they know about managing funds is what I'm trying to say.
Gathering and publishing information, unquote. In response, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth posted on X a hand-waving emoji. A 2003 CIA cable details stunning torture methods against a detainee at a black site carried out without permission and removed from reports to headquarters. The cable recounts how an interrogator put a cordless drill close to Abdulrahim al-Nashiri's body and pressed the on switch and let the drill run. The incident reportedly took place weeks after al-Nashiri was waterboarded at the CIA black site. A handgun was also held to his head after he'd been forced to stay awake for 2.5 days in a stressed position, which involved chaining his arms above his head while he was naked or wearing only a diaper. Al-Nashiri was later charged in the 2000 bombing of the USS Cole. A military judge, Colonel Lani Acosta Jr., rejected al-Nashiri's statements in detention, writing, quote, "Any resistance the accused might have been inclined to put up when asked to incriminate himself was intentionally and literally beaten out of him years before," unquote. Al-Nashiri's trial is set to start in June 2026. Madagascar's president says he's fled the country following Gen Z protests that erupted last month demanding his ouster and after soldiers threw their support behind the protests. Reuters reports André Rajoelina left Madagascar on Sunday aboard a French military aircraft. A crackdown on dissent by his forces killed at least 22 people, according to the United Nations. On Monday, thousands gathered in Madagascar's capital to mourn the dead and to demand justice.
The evacuation of André Rajoelina was an act of interference by France in Madagascar. Why? Well, because it wasn't a coup d'etat. It was just a call from the people, a call for freedom of expression.
The United Nations warns some 300,000 people have fled South Sudan this year amidst renewed fighting that's threatening to return the nation to civil war. The conflict grew worse after the arrest of the first president, Riek Machar, unraveled a fragile power-sharing agreement. Sudan gained UN recognition as the world's newest nation in 2011, but a civil war that erupted in 2013 led to an estimated 400,000 deaths. A coalition of leading economists and former finance ministers is calling for immediate debt relief to low and middle-income nations, warning loan repayments are squeezing out government funding for basic services, leading to poverty and preventable deaths. In a letter to the World Bank and IMF ahead of annual meetings this week, the economists, including Columbia University professor Joe Stiglitz, write, quote, "Countries around the world are paying exorbitant debt servicing costs instead of paying for schools, hospitals, climate action, or other essential services," unquote. In Mexico, at least 64 people are dead. Dozens remain missing after tropical storms triggered severe flooding across 5 states. Authorities say some 100,000 homes have been affected. In Alaska, Coast Guard and National Guard search and rescue crews have rescued dozens of people in coastal villages on the Bering Sea after the remnants of Typhoon Halong brought hurricane-force winds, storm surge, and severe flooding to the region. Meanwhile, on the U.S. East Coast, at least 3 people are dead as a slow-moving nor'easter brings coastal flooding winds and heavy rain to mid-Atlantic and northeastern states for a 4th consecutive day. A recent study authored by the University of Pennsylvania climate scientists, including Michael Mann, found human-driven climate changes making the strongest nor'easters even stronger. New York Attorney General Letitia James spoke publicly for the first time since her federal indictment at a campaign rally for New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani Monday. James has been indicted on mortgage fraud charges, which she denies after President Trump called for his political enemies to be jailed. She's being prosecuted by Trump's hand-picked U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Lindsay Halligan, after Trump forced out the previous Trump-appointed U.S. attorney for refusing to bring charges. At the rally, Mamdani and James presented a united front against President Trump, warning about the threat he poses to democracy, they said.
We are witnessing the fraying of our democracy, the erosion of our system of government. This, my friends, is a defining moment in our history. Let us stand together to defend our rights, to protect every safeguard, every institution, every immigrant.
We are an existential threat to billionaires who think their money can buy our democracy. We are an existential threat to a broken status quo that buries the voices of working people beneath corporations.
How? How are you gonna get money out of politics,
We are an existential threat to a New York where a hard day's work isn't enough to earn you a good night's rest.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman in New York, joined by Democracy Now!'s Juan Gonzalez in Chicago. Hi, Juan.
Hi, Amy, and welcome to all of our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube.
Some other stuff I wanted to watch.
Welcome to Novara Live. I'm Helena, aka No Justice MTG, and tonight I am delighted to be joined by Kieran and Andreu. Kieran, first question. What was it like when you first stepped off the boat and realised you were under the hands of a genocidal military?
It was a jumble of emotions that were pretty difficult to process at that exact moment.
I've seen him be interviewed already.
This 20-point peace plan includes working with world leaders to create a new Middle East and to try from this rubble to create a new Gaza. Well, today, thousands of Palestinians are going back to Gaza. Many have nothing left. More than 90% of Gaza's buildings, as you can see right here behind me, are in rubble. Meanwhile, desperately needed aid is beginning to flow into Gaza, but trucks are still subject to inspection. The United Nations is calling on Israel to reopen all points of entry into the enclave to speed up the process. Now, another point of the peace plan is that emergency aid. So let's go live to Bob Kitchen in Nairobi, Kenya. He's the president of emergency programs at the International Rescue Committee. Bob, is aid getting in as planned and promised, and what's the situation on the ground?
Well, we've gone from a small trickle of aid to now a stream where we actually need a torrent, an overwhelming torrent of aid. We're nowhere near that yet. There are 2 million people, 90% of which have been displaced, famine conditions. They're not getting the aid they need.
So the UN has called on Israel to reopen more routes into Gaza. Are those routes open?
We've still only got 1 or 2 routes open. The potential for 10 is there. The government of Israel need to open all of those and allow rapid and
Have I heard Immortal Technique? Yes, I have heard Immortal Technique. I'm familiar with his song Dance with the Devil, but that's about it. He's pretty good though. I do like him.
Humanitarian flow.
His he's like one of the fastest speed rappers I have ever heard. Like, it's wild. He sounds straight up demonic. Some of his raps sound like he's summoning Satan, dude. Like, like super fast.
Of goods immediately.
So I may catch you off guard by a headline.
And it's precise as well. It's not like jumbled,
you know. But the Associated Press is reporting that because Hamas has not released the bodies of those hostages who did not live to see the day of being released, as the 20 living hostages did, they're now going to start curtailing the aid coming back by half. Had you heard that reporting? And if not, what's your reaction to that reporting by the Associated Press?
I haven't heard that reporting, but we've seen the data over the last 24 hours. We've seen a drop in the number of trucks today, so it's not a surprise. What it is unacceptable. Aid should never be used as a negotiating tool, no matter the stakes in play. I understand that very serious families want the remains of their loved ones back, but there are 2 million people, just based on the images you're showing, who are desperate for food. Aid should never be used as a negotiating tool.
Bob Kitchen, thank you so much for joining us today on the stream. Well, CBS News intelligence and national security reporter Olivia Gossett joins us now live from the State Department. Olivia, how fragile is this ceasefire given those recent developments, and especially given what you likely...
Yeah, I'm thinking of Twisted Insane. Immortal Technique is like... He does like storytelling raps. I don't know why it took me so long to think of the word storytelling. But Twisted Insane is a speed rapper. I don't remember which song it is. They're all wild. He's like horrorcore. Can you listen to a song called Who Do We Trust by Raw the Rugged Man and Immortal Technique? Yeah, that's fine. I'm like in between stories right now, so.
We have a huge update.
Whoa. No weather update yet. We'll do that after this. You can do the music video.
I'm the last one they should ever let speak. I should say politics, forget pros and the
Rugged man. Immortal technique.
Our way of life is under attack.
Immortal Technique's been in the game for a long time, man.
There's a new housing plan for the ghetto eventually. Projects for a new American century. False flag terrorism controlling you mentally. The gospel in the hands of people with no empathy. A mixture of dangerous social chemistry between law enforcement and a military entity. Cameras on the corner of every corner you facing. Testing out a future Gestapo on immigration. Power, consolidation, information restricted. Just like the iron law of oligarchy predicted. Incarcerating the poor among the drug addicted. But not the families of the ruling class that's afflicted. Cause it's a
Dude, so much. He has said so much in less than a minute. Like, holy shit. More conscious like last 30 seconds than what some rappers have put out in entire albums, dude.
Fucking caste system like corrupted Hinduism. I think you should listen. I've been through the system in prison.
And it's not like preachy and like you know, TED Talk like. It's a bop as well, you know.
The religion carried the cross as a Christian like it was anti-disestablishmentarianism until this.
No, get the fuck out of here, dude. He's showing off. He's showing off there by just rhyming anti-disestablishmentarianism. What did someone bet that he couldn't do it or something? Fuck.
Addicted, but not the families of the ruling class that's afflicted. Cause it's a fucking caste system like corrupted Hinduism. I think you should listen. I've been through the system in prison. I've been through religion, carried the cross as a Christian like it was anti-disestablishmentarianism until the seeds of despotism arrested my vision. Lyricism with cynicism and syllogisms until they bed through Albizu Campos and kill me in prison. Chemtrail conditions, stem cells of Leo Strauss's philosophy, the birth of neocon policy. But I laugh at America's fear of a new world order controlling the hemisphere. Cause my people been living that for the past 500 years.
Intelligence, understanding the facts they deserve to know. No governmental plan should impose its restraints against your will. Who do we
trust? Who do we trust?
The facts.
Who do we trust? Who do we trust?
Intelligence.
Who can I trust? Who can I trust?
Oh, this is Twisted Insane right here.
Expose crimes of the power structure. Enter the fire, cause the truth is now treason to the U.S. empire. U.S. meddling in almost every
Isn't this him?
See where the next drone heading, civilian dead in the Yemen wedding, barely reported because the weapons were exported from the politicians in the Pentagon.
Bro, when did this come out? 4 years ago. Okay. Because it's illegal to burn an American flag now. But it's symbolically one of the most classic it's one of the most classic acts of like free speech. Okay, so Raw the Rugged Man is the one who's rapping right now. We just saw Immortal Technique. Is it actually? Yes, it is now illegal to burn the American flag. I thought it was only the Israeli flag. That's funny. That sounds like it would be the case, but no, it's an American veteran was actually arrested the day after that happened, or the day it was made illegal, and he burned it in front of the White House and then got arrested right after. In front of a bunch of cops, and they're like, oh yeah, we're supposed to, he did the thing, we're supposed to arrest him now. Crazy.
Bodies bought it and the babies and the children were slaughtered. The authorization, altercation, deplorable demoralization, obedience to authority, colonized the minority, social norms to conform to the immoral majority, white superiority, secession,
America's cooked.
The terrorism of American exceptionalism.
Yeah,
go to Plan B, be free. Fuck the TV, fuck the PD, fuck a Tuskegee VD, grave plot, soldier pop, corpse rot, spin over, Monsanto weed killer, non-Hodgkin lymphoma, whistleblower men.
Somebody called Trump the most transformative president in their lifetimes. And I feel like that's true, but not for the better. He transformed this country for the worse. I mean, I'm not saying that it was good or a democracy or had meritocracy at all, but it's easier to dismantle and break things than it is to build. You know what I mean? It will always be easier to knock over a house of cards. And under capitalism, that's what we have. A house of cards. And no, we don't have a democracy as long as we have an electoral college. Anyway.
Afraid to label the threat a traitor, executive legislator trying to suppress your behavior, intelligence interrogator collecting metadata, condemning the messenger and censoring the educator, CIA feed the propaganda to the television. In the next edition, the pundits preach it in repetition, loyal to the monarchy, hereditary or elected, fuck a royal family and fuck a president selected.
Secret society, the secret oaths, censorship.
He said, fuck a monarchy and fuck a president selected.
The facts. Who do we trust? Who do we trust? Intelligence. Who can I trust? Who can I trust? Who can I trust? Who can I trust? Informing and alerting the American.
That was a nice music break. Mike Pompeo.
I was the CIA director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. It was like we had entire training courses.
Jeez.
It reminds you of the glory of the American experiment.
Oh my God. Only thing I'm grateful for about Trump being president is he confirmed all my conspiracy theories as truth. Dude, him not being able to keep a poker face about the Epstein shit is so great. I mean, he's writing love notes to Jeffrey Epstein. Thank you, Trump, for blowing the lid off of this. You know what I mean? What other conspiracies besides Epstein? Hey, no judgment here. We live in a post-truth world, so who cares? Trump received red carpet treatment. As he landed in Israel, it could turn out to be one of the most consequential days in recent history of the Middle East. The morning the first Red Cross vehicles carrying Israeli hostages arrived. Like him flat out saying he rigged the election. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that. That's crazy, dude. So, is there any doubt my stream is frozen, by the way? Try refreshing. I got it on pause. Oh, okay. No worries. There was one guy in the Knesset who said recognize Palestine, and he got yanked out of there. And Trump was like, well, that was efficient. Like, you fucking fascists.
Now it's time to translate these
Not them playing trumpets, him getting a literal fanfare.
prize of peace and prosperity for the entire Middle East.
Yeah. We're at a summit. Okay, we got a peace summit here. We're signing papers. I'm living in Egypt at the moment. You know, they didn't let anyone within 250 kilometers of that meeting. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of world leaders. All in one spot. Any Israelis present? It doesn't matter if Israelis were present or not. They will happily bomb their own. What is Egypt like right now? Are people excited? Are people happy?
This took 3,000 years to get
Shut up.
to this point. Can you believe it? And it's going to hold up too.
You're not getting the Nobel Peace Prize if it was worth anything at all. Oh, an Israeli ambassador showed up to my college, quote, American University in Cairo. We all protested him out literally today. Nice! Hell yeah, we'd love to see it. Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, I don't think you should censor anyone speaking out of college. Like, let them get up, unless they're like literally a Nazi. Like, they should not be platformed. But like, let them see how much of an embarrassment that they can make of themselves. You know, like Ben Shapiro, I feel like is right on the line, but if you wanted to protest him out of your college, like I would understand that, but he's got nothing nowadays. Like, he could be absolutely trounced by, you know, a college freshman. After taking a philosophy 101 course. God damn. So people are not too pleased with Israel right now. And I'd imagine apprehensively happy for the Palestinians, given that the ceasefire has already been violated and all of Hamas's leverage is now gone with them turning over the hostages. But we'll see.
News outlets, including the Washington Examiner, said they wouldn't sign the Pentagon's new document outlining new press rules. The Washington Examiner joined the Washington Post, The Atlantic, Reuters, NPR, Newsmax, some
guy named Daniel C. Kurtzer,
Wall Street Journal, The Guardian, The Associated Press, and the New York Times in refusing to sign the agreement. The New York Times wrote, quote, "Since the policy was first announced, we have expressed concerns that it constrains how journalists can report on the U.S. military, which is funded by nearly $1 trillion in taxpayer money annually.
Former ambassador to Israel.
Right to know how the government and military are operating." Among the stipulations of the new policy is a ban on reporters asking anyone in the Department of War for any information that hasn't been approved for
76.
release. Newsmax, a heavily Trump-favorable outlet, released a statement in conjunction, voicing its disapproval of the policy. Reporters are also barred from accessing swaths of the Pentagon without an escort. Chief Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell argued that the policy established, quote, "common-sense media procedures." War Secretary Pete Hegseth appeared committed to following through on the threat to take away the press passes of outlets that refused to follow the new policy, posting a waving emoji in response to the New York Times announcement.
He was among the principal authors of Obama's address on the Middle East to AIPAC in 2008. Cool dude. 76 years old. He's just like out of touch, trying to make money off of books and speaking engagements. Like, that's what you get for supporting a genocidal entity. Like the Zionist entity. You get screamed out of the room at the tender old age of 76. I don't think anyone believed it when the ceasefire was announced. Even the people who had the slightest bit of optimism said the bombing would continue as soon as Israel got their hostages back. Yeah. Yeah, and I saw Palestinians celebrating, like, there's this Palestinian music teacher named Ahmed Mouin that I follow on Instagram, and on one of his stories, he's like, there's some cheering in the distance, I guess a ceasefire has been announced. It's like, I think they were just willing to take what they could get in terms of good news. Palestinians are some of the most resilient, optimistic people in the world. It's so encouraging. It's amazing, really.
President Donald Trump is expected to posthumously award conservative activist Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom. It is the nation's highest civilian honor. Kirk was killed while speaking at Utah Valley.
Mm-hmm.
No, other than
for the costs. Straight up, I looked today, not an exact number, but estimates, we've spent about $6 grand over the last 3 weeks in Chicago. That's not on lavishers while we've been in Chicago. Thank you, nearly 3-year-old. But I will be back on the ground soon, including this Saturday. I'll be covering the No Kings protest, the big day on Saturday. But I'm going to tell you straight up, there's a whole lot of outlets out there that are posers, grifters, and fucking douchebags. And I can name a few that we just came across, but I won't. You know who I'm talking about. None of them are in the trenches like us. None of them are in the trenches like us. Some of them might be out there physically. They are not in the trenches, and they are not doing it every clips. And please, sign up as a member. We'll shout you out as we go on. Thank you. We just got a new member, Trail Rabbit. So we'll be doing many shout outs. We'll be live for about an hour and a half. Maybe we can get 50 to 100 new members. I think it could happen. I just said that at 4:10 p.m. East Coast. 50 new members. Let's get it going now. For as low as $5 a month, by the way. That's 16 cents a day. I want to start with a chart, if you'll allow me, Zaina. And don't worry, Colin, I have it. Because, you know, a lot of, throughout history, I don't want to, you know, go back to the 30s, but throughout history, a lot of fascist authoritarian regimes have thrived and launched terror campaigns, basically, to kind of mask, basically, a caste system, an economic Hunger Games, economic desperation, economic survival. And we put this together because you don't hear about most of these things on the news, Zaina. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is just like a couple bullets of what's going on in this country right now as Trump sends masked vigilante criminals. I mean, that's what we're seeing. ICE are criminals, okay? Near majority of Americans are saying groceries are harder to afford today than a year ago. The bottom 60% of U.S. households don't make enough money to afford a, quote, minimal quality of life, according to a new analysis. Hiring is at its lowest level since 2009.
Bless his soul, but as a Christian, this narrative of Christian martyrdom of Charlie Kirk is really getting on my nerves. It's damn near idolatry. Yeah, it's scapegoating is what it is.
Hey Zaina, can you remember something that happened in 2008, 2009?
housing market crash.
Yes.
Did you see the pyrotechnics at his fucking memorial service? It was like a WWE event.
Because we have an AI bubble that I believe is going to crash within the next year or two. Serious credit card delinquencies climb highest level in 14 years. 1.2 million fewer jobs were created over the last 16 months than the government reported. That extends Biden administration and Trump administration. Late rental payments skyrocketing. U.S. foreclosures rising up 14%.
Charlie will, thanks to the audience he cultivated, they will never let Charlie rest. Ever. Ever. They will be propping up his corpse to play victim for as long as there will be an American conservative, like, party. What is this?
Charlie Kirk had no coroner's report, no church funeral, no burial site or grave, no official death certificate. Why has no official autopsy been conducted, nor any findings released? No ballistics report. Not a single eyewitness on the record.
Well, we can chalk that up to the FBI being run by Kash Patel, and the fact that he doesn't follow any traditional rules of the FBI.
And an award-winning widow already taking over his show. Why was the entire crime scene destroyed within hours?
That is weird.
Erasing vital evidence. They tore down everything, including the Dairy Queen. Why were there no paramedics on the scene?
What Dairy Queen? The one where the... Is this where the shooter was apprehended?
Why was Charlie Kirk's body removed and illegally flown out on Air Force 2? Why did Donald Trump pardon a Navy SEAL killer whose shadow looms over this case? Why was the stadium mysteriously booked by Turning Point 4 months before his death? How was a massive high-tech stadium memorial produced in only 11 days?
That's kind of weird.
Why do multiple women...
Well, I feel like 11 days is plenty of time. I mean... I mean, iDubbbz filled, was it Madison Square Garden? Or some kind of arena. It took like over a year, but it was just him and Anissa. This is the conservative, like, right-wing media apparatus coming together, coalescing. In 11 days, they could fill a stadium. The alleged shooter was seen at a Dairy Queen at the day of the shooting. Yeah, I'd imagine they tore down the Dairy Queen because the Dairy Queen it's kaput. They don't want it to be like a tourist attraction.
Publicly appear as Erica Kirk, raising questions of identity. Why are there no birth certificates for their children? No names revealed, no faces ever shown. Where is a
birtherism of his kids?
Video of Charlie playing with his kids at a birthday party, or picnic, or any other family setting.
It's because they're private about their kids.
Why do Freemasonic and satanic symbols surround this tragedy?
Wait, what? 3 white hats, 3 red hats? Red and white symbolism? Maybe because red and white is like our MAGA colors, you know?
With chilling precision. Interesting that the gun was found
Chilling
on property
precision.
owned by Palantir. Isn't it interesting Kash Patel fired many of the heads of the FBI in that area days before the shooting?
I'm pretty sure the FBI has been floundering in mayhem like ever since Trump took office, so it would have happened 2 days after, you know, this other horse shit that happened, you know?
Do you find it interesting that Charlie sold his house 8 months ago for $5 million?
Was it, is 8 months a coincidence, or is 2 months a coincidence? I'm not... Perfect timing, yeah, 8 months off. I don't think I can finish this. It's taken me too long to get through it. Yeah, all of that might be true, but it doesn't necessarily mean what it's implying, you know? It doesn't make it true. It gets into the fringe stuff, yeah. That's how you ride the algorithm right there. That's all of the conspiracies getting more and more fringe as it goes on. But people do strange things during tragedies, and it's possible that people can make mistakes. Like a mistake of not having a good crime scene, you know? Paving over the crime scene. This conspiracy theory is peak. Sure. What you got?
Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk. Rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
My first thought was, is that San Andreas or Los Santos? No, it's Goat Island. Oh my gosh. Lincoln was killed at the Ford Theater, and had a vice president named Kennedy or something. What am I looking at here? Oh, what a sweet, kind of weird looking kid, you know? Who would have thought?
Just heard me talk about, which was that new reporting by the Associated Press.
Absolutely, Reed. This moment in time after yesterday's breakthrough is precious, and it's very precarious. Precious because it did seed these nascent elements of goodwill and trust that were necessary.
I've been looking at conspiracy theories ever since fucking right around Sandy Hook is when conspiracy theories really jumped the shark. Like, Alex Jones tried doing that. He tried going that far, and he had to pay out over $1 billion in defamation. To me, that's where all conspiracy theories lead. You basically keep going further and further until you're literally saying that someone's kid didn't die. And people don't like that. You'll literally start to step on other people's toes the further detached from reality that you get. And one thing I noticed in recovery circles is that it kind of preys on, like, conspiracy content creators kind of prey on people having schizophrenic symptoms. And I mean, like, radio grifters were doing that back in the day with, like, prepper culture and stuff. You know, how much military surplus do you think there was after the Cold War, and then, like, there's no threat like that anymore, and now all the grifters have to, you know, come up with a way to sell this shit, and then they just got good at the, like, even better at the grift. I don't think the Sandy Hook shooting was fake, but I do think there are instances of government influence, MK Ultra type shit on mentally disturbed people to shoot things up. Damn, like hidden messages and stuff. I don't know. I think it's more likely that aggrieved white men don't know are more likely to reach for a gun than go to therapy. What is this?
An opening 2 minutes to Mr. Vermin Supreme.
Thank you. Gingivitis has been eroding the gum line of this great nation long enough and must be stopped. For too long, this country has been suffering a great moral and oral decay, in spirit and in incisors. Our country's future depends on its ability to bite back. We can no longer be a nation indentured. Our very salivation is at stake. Together, we must brace ourselves. As we cross over to the bridge work, into the 23rd century, let us bite the bullet, and together make America a sea of shining smiles from sea to shiny sea. Now, friends, some people will tell you that this mandatory toothbrushing law is about the secret dental police kicking down your door at 3 a.m. to make sure you've brushed. Friends, it is not. Some will mention the dental re-education centers or the preventative dental maintenance detention facilities. It's about none of these things. It's not about the government-issued toothpaste containing an addictive yet harmless substance. No, friends, it is not even about DNA gene splicing to create a race of winged monkeys to act as tooth fairies. Friends, what this mandatory toothbrushing law is really about is strong teeth for a strong America. My name is Vermin Supreme. I'm a friendly fascist. I'm a tyrant that you should trust, and you should let me run your life.
I'm a friendly fascist, and you should let me run your life.
Because I do know what is best for you. Yes, I'm a politician. I will promise you anything your little electoral heart desires, because you are my constituent.
Ooh, I will promise you anything your little electoral heart desires, because you are my constituent.
You are the informed voting public, and because I have no intention of keeping any promise that I make.
Yeah, man. My king. No votes. No elections. Just Vermin Supreme.
Vote early, vote often. Remember, a vote for Vermin Supreme is a vote completely thrown away. I would like to take this moment to acknowledge my mother, who's in the audience here today. Please stand up, Mother. Please stand up. If you can stand up, please stand up. She's going to try and stand up so you can acknowledge her. This is my mother. There you go. And 5 years ago this April, I gave her a kidney. My challenge to you people, everybody on the stage and everybody in the audience, give up a kidney.
All right, thank you, Mr. Supreme.
Mr. Supreme, welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Like some of the other candidates, including former Governor Romney, this is not your, shall we say, first rodeo.
Let us say that.
This is not the first time you have run for president in the New Hampshire primary. And President Romney has been accused, and I'm not taking a position one way or the other, of taking different positions on different issues. I'm asking you right now, do you still stand by your pledge made in 2008 to provide a pony for every American?
Yes, I do, sir. Free ponies for all Americans, one of the overlooked issues in America today. My free pony platform is, of course, a jobs creation program. It will create lots and lots of jobs. Once we switch over to a pony-based economy, we'll also...
Okay. A pony-based economy. A free pony for everyone.
Start tonight with new information about the helicopter crash on Highway 50. Take a look. New dash cam video shows the moment the medical helicopter descends on the highway. As you can see, it was a busy evening when the helicopter started falling.
Oh, this is the second helicopter crash in a week in California. Where are the air traffic controllers, man?
And crashed on the freeway, luckily avoiding...
It was in the daytime and also caught on camera. It landed in a bunch of trees over by the beach.
Other vehicles. Tonight we're learning new details on the condition of the woman trapped underneath the wreckage of that helicopter crash.
Yeah, her family has identified her as Susie Smith, and tonight they're praying for a miracle. The family says she has severe injuries, mostly involving trauma to her brain. They say she was the flight nurse on the Reach medical helicopter that had just dropped off a patient at UC Davis Medical Center when it crashed. Smith and the other two victims are now in critical condition. And new tonight, we're learning more about the strangers who jumped into action to try and save lives.
And we have video from last night showing dozens of people coming together, lifting the aircraft to help reach crew members trapped.
Tonight, ABC 10's Garshpal Sangha spoke to the heroes who say they happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, Chris and Laura, it is a 20 strangers shoulder to shoulder lifting a helicopter off a trap.
Why doesn't our government come together and get some air traffic controllers?
Victim. Last night, Chris spoke with some people who were stepping up to help And tonight we spoke with a couple who described what they saw as they were seconds away from the helicopter crashing. The moment a medical helicopter slammed into a Sacramento freeway, and the moment strangers became heroes.
When it was coming down, I looked at it and I said, this isn't good. When
Anything from the electronic intifada? It's only Tuesday, so probably not. What is going on with ICE right now? ICE clears out neighborhood in Chicago? What
we do have some breaking news that takes us out to Chicago, and for more on that, we're going to head over to our Fox 32 Chicago team, where there is a helicopter over the scene.
Professor Jang? Who's that?
Where an ICE vehicle collided with another vehicle, and that has led to some chaos right there. Stephanie Quinn, you are watching live now from Fox. Christy Mattino, my colleague, will carry our coverage in just a bit.
There's such a contention. So sometimes they do go in to the police, you know, the district office there to the police, and in the past that's what they had been doing. I don't know that they're still doing this because this has gotten so contentious, but they would go in and just kind of inform local police, hey, we're going to go to 105th and Avenue N. There's something.
Yeah, you wonder, were there people leaking where they were going? They were fearing for their safety, and that's why?
You know, as bad as the relationship is between public officials and the federal government right now, they have maintained somewhat of a dialogue with the police, and Snelling has mentioned that. Again, just going in and informing them, we're going to be here just so you know, just so you're informed. We know we can't, you know, per the law, you can't come help us, you know, raid a house, but you should know for public safety purposes where we're at. And you know, Snelling has said that they've still kept that dialogue and that communication. As you see, police clearly are there. And you know, I can attempt here to get some further clarification from the police department.
Yeah, why don't you try to do that? And then I'm just going to give people a lay of the land who might just be joining us. So around 12:28-ish this afternoon, we got a tip via Sky Fox that there was some sort of federal agent activity in the East Side neighborhood. That is in the southeast side of the city, very close to the Indiana state line. This is 104th and Avenue N. And so we were able to zoom in on the scene, and we witnessed at least 50 federal agents, including ICE, maybe Border Patrol, on the scene there. They were blocking. There we are. We're showing you video now because the scene appears to have just been cleared. But this is what we witnessed, and we saw them running after people in the neighborhood. We'd heard this all began with some type of car accident.
Like
we don't know if maybe those federal agents were in pursuit of someone. And that's how it began. But you see a lot of people there wearing dark clothing, just running and scattering. And then those agents blocked off about a block radius of this particular neighborhood, this East Side neighborhood. And they deployed several times pepper balls to kind of disperse the crowd. We saw Chicago police officers approach as well, and then soon after that, that's when those pepper balls were deployed. And now the scene looks pretty clear. There's about 5-6 SUVs that were there that we assume were being driven by federal agents left. The Chicago police left. This is what the scene looked.
Yeah, people won't care until it's their neighborhood. You're absolutely right.
Today, we are going to discuss some extremely controversial topics. And
love this guy, and I've seen him, I've actually seen this exact lecture. Awesome. When recommending this guy, this is a great place to start, because yes, Israel does want the world to hate them, that they want to start World War III. They don't care how they look. They don't care about the images of skeletal babies getting out. As long as it eggs the world on to continue fighting, but if anything, it's just made Hamas want to stop. It's, anyway. Yeah. He talks about Amalek in this.
And because this is going to go on YouTube, there are certain words I cannot say. So just to warn you, I will write down these words, but I will not say them because if I do say them, then I'll get censored on YouTube. Today, we're going to look at how evil triumphs. Why is the world so evil? And there's going to be a lot of extremely disturbing topics we're going to discuss. But you're mature, and it's important that we discuss these topics in order to understand how the world works. So let's just start. And we will do a lot of speculation and theorizing in this class. So do not take this as gospel. Do not believe this is the truth. The entire point of this class is to help you develop the theories and the ideas to better understand the world. These are tools. Okay, this is not truth.
Have done a lot to cause conflict in the Middle East. Okay? So they're the ones who are actively encouraging
Christians, you say? Oh. Oops. Uh-oh.
conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis. They're the ones who
Christian Zionists, he means.
want Israel and Iran to go to war. Why? Why are they actively encouraging conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis? Why are they encouraging a war between Iran and Israel? Why would they want a war between Iran and Israel?
Expand to Greater Israel?
Israel is already back. Why? Because it's part of the prophecy. You understand? It's part of the prophecy. The prophecy is that Israel must first be reconstituted as a nation. Okay, this happened in 1948. And then Israel must go to war with other nations. Okay, does that make sense? So these Christians are actually promoting war between Israel and its neighbors. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. Okay. So now the other thing is that after the Reformation, okay, they developed a new theology called Christian Zionism.
Yep.
Christian Zionism, okay? What is Christian Zionism? Christian Zionism is the belief that as a Christian...
Do you know where he teaches?
Christian, you must support Jews in the return to Israel, okay? So, because remember that Israel as a nation was only founded in 1948. And then basically in about 70 BCE, the Romans burned down the temple, okay? So for about almost 2,000 years, really, the Jewish people have not lived in, sorry, the Jews were not in control of Israel, okay, for about 2,000 years. And there are Christians who believe that it is our responsibility, it is our duty to help Jews take control over Israel, okay? And they believe this for many different reasons. So Christian Zionists, some may believe that that's what the Bible says. God promised Israel to the Jews, okay? So Christian Zionism intersects with dispensationalist premillennialism.
Wow.
Okay, there are Christian Zionists who...
This is just a K-12 private school, man. It says he's based in Beijing on Google. I got his profile at the Moonshot Academy in the San Francisco Bay Area. Where is this? Our high school is now enrolling. Oh dang, W private school. I'm not, like, getting on him about it being a private school or even celebrating that it's a private school. I'm excited that he's talking to young people. That is like, he's not lecturing college kids who might already have opinions on this and are just like trying to get a credit, or they're coming to class hungover. No, this is young people who are young people who are here, who are paying to be there. I mean, in college you pay to be there, but these are like formative years, and they're learning really important ideas. That's really awesome. How theology shapes U.S. foreign policy. I can't imagine learning anything anywhere near that at my public school, dude. They got "In God We Trust" all over the walls of my public school. You know what I mean? The different worlds.
Who believe that, okay, for Jesus' return, we need Israel back, and we need Israel to be in conflict with the Middle East, okay? So in other words, the Middle East, okay? Okay, all of them, okay? So,
I want to go back in time and beat up my civics teacher.
So Christian Zionism, I mean,
oh man, I literally had an econ teacher basically lobby for capital punishment to his junior econ class. Like, relax, dude. We had a biology teacher start reading from the Bible when he caught almost the entire class cheating on a test. Like, bro, you're not supposed to pull out either testament in a public school, man. Like, he was also the, like, Christian youth, or Fellowship of Christian Athletes leader as well. And basically, they would get away with prayer in school by stepping outside and praying around the flag. It was very, very weird. Only unhinged things my economics teachers have done so far is waffle about the Federal Reserve and how China is kicking our asses and everything. Look no further than Build Your Dream. My folks are very anti-China, and I told them about a Build Your Dream, and they're like, "What's Build Your Dream?" I'm like, exactly, dude. And that's why you hold these opinions, because you just, sometimes people just don't know, you know?
You can make the argument that it's a pretty evil idea. Why? Because they're using the Jewish people as a tool, as a mechanism in order to achieve what they believe, which is the return of Jesus. Okay, does that make sense?
because Christianity believes that if Jesus returns, then all Jews, then Judaism as a religion will cease to exist. 2/3 of all Jews will die in the battle, and the rest, a third, will,
let me get a
will
$50K
Christianity.
Chinese supercar.
Yeah. So you can make the argument that Christian Zionism, it's a pretty cynical.
Meanwhile, we had
who've needlessly another Cybertruck specific tragedy, and this involves 3 students who were reportedly burned alive after the doors to their Tesla Cybertruck malfunctioned and trapped them inside the vehicle. You can see the pictures of the
this is what we get because Chinese electric cars are illegal in the United States. It's not that they don't pass inspections. It's not that it's America is prohibited from that level of trade with China. And the people who make that decision, the blood of these kids on their hands, directly on their hands. Forget Elon Musk, like he's a mass murderer basically with these cars.
3 who perished here: Krista Sukahara, Jack Nelson, Soren Dixon. There was a 4th individual who thankfully and miraculously survived, but these 3 did not. And the parent, there's lawsuits now. We're going to give you the details on that. Krista.
Can you imagine being the only ones surviving that? Like a situation you would only see in like Final Destination. Jesus Christ. Have you seen any Final Destination movies, Yoshi Airhead? Two girls get cooked in tanning beds in Final Destination is the only movie that actually gave me nightmares. Yeah, because there's no bad guy. There's no evil entity. It's all just like freak accidents. It's like if you have any amount of anxiety, it's absolutely nightmare fuel. Like, I do not drive behind logging trucks. Holy shit, dude. I don't know which Final Destination it is, but the one where, like, logs are just pulverizing the fronts of cars, I'm like, fuck, no. Some of the deaths are just slapstick and silly, like the lawnmower just laying on the dude's face and him going with the blood spraying out the side. Like, some of the kills are just silly. And others are fucking brutal. I think the one where getting your head jammed in the elevator, I haven't seen that one. I know there's like 5 or 6 of them. 3 is my favorite. The first one and 3 are my favorites. Dude, my little niece is getting into Final Destination. She's a spooky girl. She likes Halloween and stuff. And she said she loves Final Destination. It's so crazy. I held her on the day she was born, and now we're talking about Final Destination. Our favorite Final Destination kills. Oh, that's so crazy. Time is the biggest mind fuck there is. But yeah, this is Final Destination in real life. Like, now tell her this is based on a true story? You see, the planes... Isn't it from planes literally colliding or something? It's a freak accident of air traffic control. Literally the first Final Destination movie.
Sukahara's parents are suing the company as onlookers were unable to remove her from the car as it burned. The 19-year-old was riding in the backseat of a Cybertruck along with Jack Nelson while Soren Dixon was driving. The vehicle...
Was the first movie pre or post 9/11? Good question. Oh, it's pre 9/11. Ooh. Came out in 2000. Roger Ebert gave the original 3 out of 4 stars, stating that Final Destination will no doubt be a hit and inspire the obligatory sequels, like the original. It's time to find some predictive programming. Like The Simpsons? The Simpsons is the most predictive programming there is.
Smashed into a retaining wall in a tree at high speed in a San Francisco Bay Area suburb and burst into flames on 27th of November last year. Now, they are not blaming the parents and the survivors. They're not blaming that the car crashed because it's a Tesla, although that has also been a massive problem. And there apparently was alcohol and drugs involved in this. The issue specifically is the door design, which has been the cause of so many disasters for various Teslas, and in particular the Cybertruck, in that they have these doors that open or shut with the push of a button, and the latches rely on a 12-volt battery separate from the high-voltage battery that drives the electric motor of the Cybertruck. So if the crash or the damage from a crash severs the connection to the power, the door doesn't function. And there is technically like a manual release, but everything with the Cybertruck is not based around function. It's based around, does it look cool to the lamest man on the planet?
Yeah. I think we watched this yesterday. She said, yep, 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 yep.
Yes, we're in costumes to show just how ridiculous that is. It's not a war zone. The only time it's a war zone is when they come down and abuse us protesters out here fighting for our community. As you just witnessed, they come down, they shoot pepper balls, they grab people.
Oh man. Oh my god, he's got a pirate flag. There's pirates down there.
It's just a Saturday night in Portland, am I right? I'm here tonight because this is literally actually bananas. Like, that we have these guys in full military uniforms, costumes basically, coming out because the President of the United States, the highest office that we used to all have respect for, is saying that this is a war-torn, blown-out buildings. And I think it's absolute nonsense. It's just, we're in the silliest timeline. So I thought, like, why not be silly, you know? And we're here for fun. We're here representing peace. We're here representing love. We don't have any hate towards them. We have no ill will towards them.
Let me get that 50K ice check, not gonna lie. Bro, that is like... I got comedians... We got comedians taking blood money and regular Americans taking the Nazi check. I would rather be poor forever than take that, you know. Really, you're gonna arrest your neighbors for $50,000? I don't mean you. I'm just like, it's unbelievable that people do that though. No, actually, let me get that 7K per post. Yeah. Oh god, dude. $7,000 per post is like so. That's like Tim Pool numbers, you know what I mean? Yep. Alright, I think I'm gonna leave it there. But I'll be back to play some games. I'm gonna be exploring the New America. I'm gonna be running a simulation of future America. It's called Fallout 76, and yeah, we can just get used to the wasteland before it gets here. Get ready for that. Alright, let me hit you with the best outro on the internet. You ready? Peace. Thanks for being here. Free Palestine. Fuck Israel. Crush Zionism forever. And yeah. I'll see ya.
Where's your fucking badge, you pigs? We go hard for Palestine. We escalate for Palestine. We fight for Palestine. everything we got. We do not work with the police. We do not point people out to the police. We do not lay hands on our comrades. When we go hard for our people, you ain't staying out the way. If you ain't with it,